All right, really good video for you today. Make sure you watch the whole thing. We're going to start off with some short-term price action. I'm going to transition into some big picture type stuff. I know you always like when we talk big picture because that's what it's all about, the big picture. And then we're going to finish, just like always, with some recent news, keep you informed on everything going on with Bitcoin, crypto, the whole market, just like we always do. Welcome back, everybody, to Altcoin Daily, where, of course, you subscribe for our daily content on everything Bitcoin, everything crypto. Smash up the like button, support the channel, and let's get into it. So we're on the hour chart right here on TradingView for Bitstamp, and you can see that over the past day or so, Bitcoin has been rallying up. Right now, Bitcoin sits at the time of recording just below $11,000. We're actually at 10,800. Really good news. Really good news if we were just looking at this right here. But as you can see, still not quite a higher high. So we still, this is actually very close to our last high at about 11,000. We have yet to break above that, which was still lower than the previous high and the previous high and the previous high. So you can almost draw a little trend line going right here. Obviously, we broke above that, at that point. And actually, we've been unable to break below, and this is a good thing, I guess. We haven't broken below $9,100. So you can almost draw another line of support right here. This is almost like a descending triangle. You know what? This really doesn't matter because what I really want to talk about is the big picture. So it has come to my attention, and I think it's pretty obvious at this point, that Bitcoin is entering into another re-accumulation period. This is very interesting that we can see these dotted lines represent Bitcoin's halvings, and Bitcoin's only been around for 10 years, keep in mind. And the first year and a half, 2 years, Bitcoin really didn't have a price. So this is the earliest price history we can get, and it's very interesting to me that Bitcoin follows the same pattern every cycle. So it's indicated by the colors. For instance, in the last cycle, in between the last two halvings, of course, Bitcoin had its massive bull run, the green. We had the correction, the bubble burst, the red. We had the accumulation period, the orange. We had the recovery period where we kind of burst out of it, which is the yellow. And then we had a reaccumulation period, which is the blue right here. So you can see the reaccumulation period happened here, here, and I think that we are seeing another reaccumulation period here. So what does this mean? Well, it's hard to say. If you look back on previous cycles, the reaccumulation period usually sees a little bit of a dip from where we were in the recovery phase, and it eventually trends upwards as we get into the green. Now, what's interesting is, and then these white lines up here, these represent the previous high. And what's interesting to me is we're actually pretty close to the previous high that we've had, which you don't usually see at such an early time in the reaccumulation period. So I would be very surprised if we took $20,000 before the halving. Of course, look at where the halving is. It's in May of next year. So this is going to be interesting. Now, maybe what we're seeing is people buying into Bitcoin a lot earlier than ever before. I mean, I've heard this said before that, buying Bitcoin back in 2014, 2015, you really had no idea whether Bitcoin was going to succeed or not, which is as opposed to buying Bitcoin 2018 and 2019, where we're pretty sure Bitcoin's going to be around at least several more years, hopefully several more decades. So you can see that in each reaccumulation period, Bitcoin never again went back to the orange, and it did kind of retrace the price where it was in the yellow, but that's not necessarily guaranteed. So you know that I have a buy order set at about 8,600. It may never get there. I'm willing to wait. What we could see in the coming rest of the year, going into May of next year, which again, it's this blue area right here, You could see us maybe trend downwards or maybe start trending upwards, getting towards the halving like what we saw back here. So it's just interesting. I think we can officially declare us being in the re-accumulation period. I think it's safe to say that at this point. But you tell me what you think. You tell me if you think this chart holds water. I know a lot of you have been asking me to talk about big picture stuff lately, so I wanted to share that with you. Let's jump into some news. And if you like that, make sure you actually like the video. So really interesting news today. Make sure you stick around for the whole thing. I'm going to talk about Ben Shapiro. I'm going to talk about Ethereum, Binance, Trump, Twitter, and Square. But I want to start off with this headline right here. Crypto tycoon Roger Ver quietly relinquishes the CEO role at Bitcoin.com. So you know Roger Ver, Bitcoin Cash backer and notable cryptocurrency entrepreneur. Roger Ver has quietly moved positions within his flagship company. This was pretty under the radar at Bitcoin.com. So formerly the CEO of Bitcoin.com, sometimes confused with the actual CEO of Bitcoin itself by newcomers, Ver is now listed on the site as the executive chairman. Jumping over to Cointelegraph for the rest of the story. So Bitcoin.com has appointed now Stephen Rust as the company's new CEO as Roger Ver leaves the post. Rust will continue working on the development of the company's new products and services that promote the peer-to-peer electronic cash. Commenting on the appointment, Rust said, this is a quote, "I'm hugely excited to take on the role of CEO, working alongside Roger. Together we can now turbocharge the awesome team and great brand that is Bitcoin.com, and we will play an integral part in making money work for everybody as society undergoes such an enormous and pivotal change. It's going to be a wild ride, so don't miss it." Ver, however, he's not completely gone. He's still going to serve as the chairman, as the other article said. So a lot of people suspect the reason that Roger Ver is stepping down to a less intensive position is because Bitcoin.com is starting its own exchange, and it's going to have Bitcoin Cash base pairs. I don't know a whole lot about that, but it is something to watch. Of course, I'm not a fan of Bitcoin.com. I don't use it. I probably won't use the exchange because Bitcoin.com tries to make people believe that Bitcoin Cash is the real Bitcoin, and they co-opt the brand, and they do it purposefully, and I don't like that.
I'm being insulted. I don't need to be insulted by you. I have enough money. I was a self-made multimillionaire before I ever got involved in Bitcoin. I don't need to have my buttons pushed by people like you on the internet. I think Bitcoin Cash has a more legitimate claim to being the Bitcoin that was outlined in the bitcoin.org website.
You personally just want people to think that it's Bitcoin.
Is Bitcoin. Read my lips.
It's Bitcoin Cash.
Next story. Twitter and Square founder Jack Dorsey says, "We love you, Bitcoin." So this is pretty interesting to me because it was during an earnings call devoted to Square's Q2 2019 results where Jack Dorsey recognized the eye-popping impact that introducing Bitcoin support had on the company's Cash App revenue. This is the quote, "We love you, Bitcoin. We saw 3.5 million customers use Cash Card in June, typically using it to purchase multiple times per week. Our seller and Cash App ecosystem have incredible roadmaps ahead to deliver on our purpose of economic empowerment." Yes, I like that. And then in a tweet posted on August 1st, investor Kevin Rook noted that Square's 125 million figure for Q2 2019 means, and this is interesting, that around 7% of all the Bitcoin mined in the past 3 months was acquired by the Square Cash App, and this didn't exist 2 years ago. Let that sink in. This is just one company who needs to buy Bitcoin in order to have a supply so they can provide a service to its customers. And a lot of companies are trying to make money in the crypto space and provide a service like this. And it's going to show in the coming months and years, like it already has, seeing this price of Bitcoin go up because there's only so much Bitcoin. Moving on. Bitcoin has a big future, says Donald Trump's ex-chief strategist, Steve Bannon. We have any Steve Bannon fans in the house? I don't think anybody's too big of a fan of him, but he is an infamous figure. So Steve Bannon, who was the chief strategist to Trump during his first 7 months in the White House, thinks cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin have a big future. The controversial right-winger said in an interview on CNBC's Squawk Box that he was confidently purchasing the cryptocurrency when it was going down during the 2018 meltdown. So he went on Squawk Box and said, I'm buying cryptocurrency. And he says, I think they could be a very important part going forward, particularly in this global populist revolt. Moving on, let's talk about Ethereum. And we're going to talk about the price of Ethereum, and then I'm going to talk about the Apple Card, and then Ben Shapiro. But first, Ethereum developer calls the ETH bottom. So apparently an Ethereum developer says against Bitcoin, ETH has bottomed. He specifically says, I'm calling the bottom of the ETH-Bitcoin ratio. As Ethereum Joseph likes to say, markets operate in fear and greed. We've reached the nadir of fear cycle. So he's saying Ethereum's bottomed, basically. He added, in terms of Bitcoin, Ethereum is back to where it was in 2016. Versus Bitcoin, Ethereum's price is back to where it was in 2016. Let that sink in. However, considering the amount of progress that has been accomplished right now versus 2016, doesn't really quantify the price. It doesn't add up, he's saying. Not only is ETH1 amazing with layer 2 solutions slowly but surely emerging, but the foundational proof of stake chain is set to ship in Q1 2020, maybe even in January of 2020. So this ETH developer is obviously very biased, but he is bullish on the future, saying we have so much stuff cooking. The fact that the price of Ethereum is, as far as versus Bitcoin goes, back to its 2016 prices. He says Ethereum is undervalued at this point. So the price of Ethereum right now sits at $216. At the height of the bubble in 2017 and beginning of 2018, the price sat at $1,377. Back in 2016, we can see that the price was only $2.45. That's compared to US dollars, but compared to Bitcoin, this orange line right here, you can see it's relatively the same. So my question to you is, are you buying Ethereum? Are you bullish on Ethereum long term? And are you buying? Let me know. I'm personally not buying Ethereum at the moment. I'm waiting and watching, and I'm not willing to take the risk at this point, but if at some point I think it's worth buying, I'm definitely going to jump in because I do think Ethereum will probably be here for at least the next few years. How about this? Apple Card will not allow purchases of cryptocurrency. So you're familiar with the Apple Card. So Apple Inc. credit card being launched with Goldman Sachs Group will not allow the purchases of cryptocurrency with the card. This is according to a customer agreement posted to Goldman's website on Friday. The Apple Card customer agreement said specifically that the card cannot be used to purchase cash advances, cash equivalents that include cryptocurrencies, casino gaming chips, race track wagers, or lottery tickets. Goldman Sachs declined to comment on this. Apple did not immediately respond and had no comment on this. So they're not allowing people to buy cryptocurrencies at this point. That's interesting. We'll see how this develops. Final piece of news, and this is actually very bullish in my opinion. Ben Shapiro has just made a case for Bitcoin as a solution to fiat currency on his show today. So as in his most recent episode, I'm going to leave a link to this in the bottom. The clip starts at about 47 minutes and 50 seconds, and it goes for about a few minutes where he's basically talking about, because Trump is tweeting about devaluing the US dollar, he goes, the smartest thing we could do to have a strong dollar is peg the US dollar to gold. And he says, I really see the value of Bitcoin. I'm paraphrasing. He says, I really see the value of Bitcoin because it sucks that if you keep your money in the bank, if you keep your money in US dollars, it just gets devalued. That sucks, is basically his sentiment. And I liked what this person said. Regardless of what you think about Ben Shapiro, the fact that he is spreading the word about Bitcoin to his huge follower base is a good thing. He has millions of followers. I've seen plenty of Ben Shapiro stuff. I don't agree with him on everything, but I like him a lot. I watch him all the time. And that's it, my friends. That is it. Currently, the price of Bitcoin sits at 10,784. Yes, I do think we're in the reaccumulation stage. I still have my buy order set. What do you think? Do you think we'll be bouncing around this blue range for the rest of the year? Do you think it's going to take until the halving for us to surpass previous all-time highs like we have seen time and time again? Let me know in the comments. And of course, if you want daily videos like this, subscribe to the channel, join the team. My name is Aaron. It's going to be a great year. Don't miss out.